but I'm just as blinded. Blind. I'm blind.
Chapter 1. Then. Charlotte. He was gentle as ever. I wanted to tell him to let go, that it was okay. After 8 times, yes, I kept count, it had long since stopped hurting. I told myself he was being considerate yet enthusiastic. Maybe a little too enthusiastic. Once again, it was over before I'd gotten warmed up. He collapsed on top of me after a few minutes. But Keith's tired, satisfied smile when he raised his head from the crook of my shoulder warmed my heart, even if my body was left wanting. I was new to the whole having sex thing, but I liked it. Quite a bit, if I were being honest. Granted, I hadn't achieved the big O yet, but I was 21, and yet still a rookie. I figured I'd get there with practice, and I was more than willing to put the time in with my handsome new boyfriend. My first boyfriend. My first love. My first everything. I reached for Keith again, but he rolled onto his back and kissed my hand.
"I've got class,"
he said.
"And you, my darling, have an audition tonight. The most important of your life."
"So far," I said, with a grin. "After I graduate, I'm going for the Phil. Or maybe Boston. And make my big brother proud." Chris's words echoed in my thoughts. First Juilliard, and then the Phil. His parting goodbye as I went off to college. I held on to it like a mantra, vowing to make his words come true. Winning a seat on the spring strings, Keith's master project, would be a step in that direction, a notch on my resume. A thought dimmed my smile. I turned to Keith. "If I kill it tonight, won't they think I got in because of us?" Keith pulled on his jeans, his back to me. His blonde hair glinting in the shaft of light spilling in from the tiny dorm room window.
"Probably,"
he said. He turned and leaned over the bed, kissing me softly before pulling away and smiling that winsome grin that still, after a month, had the ability to make my heart flutter in my chest like a caged bird.
"So you'd better prove them wrong."
At 20 minutes to 6 o'clock, I walked up Broadway, violin case in hand. My black A-line skirt, white blouse, and black jacket were a little heavy for the weather, but a light breeze took the edge off the day's lingering heat. A stunning spring day if ever there was one. But New York City could have been caught in a hurricane, and I would have felt invincible that night. I was going to win the coveted violin seat on the Spring Strings Quartet. I knew this, not because I was filled with arrogance or ego. Since coming to Juilliard almost 3 years ago, the music that lived in my heart was thriving and blooming in a way I couldn't have imagined. I didn't just play the notes of the compositions before me. I created perfect harmonies out of skill and infused them with love. Love for the music. Love for life. And now, love for Keith. Of all the women who flocked around him like doves around a bronze statue, he'd chosen me. My heart was full to bursting, but I would win my spot honestly. I would give them everything. I would play Mozart, of course. Mozart, whom I felt was my spirit guide, who called to me from across the centuries with his music that, in my estimation, was absolute perfection. I felt Mozart's music in my very bones, in my heart and soul. I always played with my heart in my hands, but with Mozart, I stripped myself raw. The first 3 rows of Alice Tully Hall were full of hopefuls, some muttering beneath their breaths, some giving me the obvious stink eye. They all knew I was dating Keith, but it didn't matter. The music was alive in me, and I was about to unleash it. I played the fiercely technical cadenza to Mozart's Violin Concerto No. 5 for Keith and the other 2 student directors, both seniors like him, both women, both eyeing me dubiously. I was too lost in the music to watch their